Hi there, glad you made it back. Today, conditional statements part 2. First, I'm going to take up some of the problems that I assigned you in our last lecture, and then I'm going to challenge you with 2 problems which implement the conditional statement commands. Okay, so last lecture I left you with some optional problems to try. I hope you did them. Either way, I'm going to take them up and use those as a review and recap before we get into today's lecture. So, I wanted you to open up the file called book sales. And then we had to add a new department, sports. We had forgotten it. I wanted you to put in all the numbers, and then let's focus in on here. This is where the conditional calculations occur. So we want to work out the monthly sales totals and then work out a tax on those. And according to this, we want the sales tax to be 5% when the monthly sales are less than $5,000 and 7% otherwise. Now in the resources for last lecture, this solution is in there, okay? So I'll quickly pop it up. The other ones I'm going to work through them with you. And here is basically the technique, okay? So we're going to use an if statement, and we're going to say if B8, so this one is 5,462. If it's less than 5,000, use the 5% rate. And if it's obviously more, 5,000 or more, then we're going to use 7%. We're timesing that by the B8. And these are the numbers we get all the way across. And then, of course, we want to work out a total tax for all of those calculations. So this one's pretty straightforward, okay? Simple, basic if statement, just to help us review that concept. Okay, let's take a look at problem number 2. Again, I give you the actual file, okay? It's called flights. And in this one, we're going to work out the revenue based on a ticket type. So 1 is going to cost us $99, and 2 is going to cost us $150. And we're basically going to work out the revenue by taking the number of tickets purchased and what the ticket type was, combine them together to get the actual amount. Let's pop up that. So this is a pretty straightforward choose command. So we go choose, bracket, and our ticket type is in B2. And depending on the number, a 1 is $99 and a 2 is $150. And then we're going to multiply that by C2. Now we'll take that and just drag it down and copy it to all the other ones. And those are our results. We could put it into formatting of currency. I notice it doesn't have 2 decimals for some reason. So I'll put 2 decimals there. And now we've got it like that. Okay, so there's a nice quick little solution using the choose command. Which brings us to our last problem. This one, you had to type it in from scratch. I did not give you the actual file beforehand. It's something to do with books, okay? And we're going to track their condition, and depending on their condition, we're going to reduce their price. And if they get so low that they're not worth keeping, we're going to donate them. Otherwise, we're going to sell them, okay? Here is the actual file. All right, so I assumed you did a bit of dirty work, a bit of typing, okay? So here's the original price. Here's the condition. We're going to make up a brand new column called the used price. Slide that over just a little bit. Okay, and then we're going to work out a formula. So we're going to use choose again. So we're going to say choose and then bracket. And it's going to be based on the condition number, right? So that's C2. And depending on the condition, 1 is 40%. 2 is 20%. And 3 is 10%. And then we're going to times that by the original price of the book, which is, in our case, B2. Okay, so we get that amount, and we drag it down and copy them to get the final values. Okay, now this individual has decided that for a certain value, it's not going to be worth it to keep it. So according to this, we're going to create a new column, what to do, and if the price is over 20, okay, we will keep it and try to sell it. And if it's less than, we're going to donate it. So I'll type the title here, what to do, and I'll widen it just a little bit. Okay, and this one is an if statement, not a choose. So we'll say if, and the value is in D2. So if that's greater than 20, we're going to sell. And otherwise, we're going to donate. Okay, so press enter. There it is, sell, because that one is over $20. These other 2, sell, donate, donate. Okay, so there you have a quick little refresher that incorporated some choose commands in there and some if statements. Nice little recap and review of what we did last lecture. Now we're going to really challenge you with two problems, which are practical applications of the concepts we've learned over the last lecture and a half. Okay, so here are the challenge problems, and they're fairly involved, so they won't be easy couple 5-minute solutions. Okay, maybe come back the next day. What we'll do is, as we did in a previous lecture, I will let you pause the video, and then we'll come back later and we'll take up the solutions. Also, the solutions are in today's resources, but don't look at them right away. Try to do these yourselves. They're a bit more challenging, really test your knowledge of conditional statements. I'll give you a brief overview, but I'm not going to go into depth explanations. I want you to try to figure them out from what I've written on the PDF file. So this first one tracks river flow. There's a particular structure that opens and closes valves, and they want to track the amount of river flow that has to go through those valves. And according to the rules, fictitious rules that I've made up, if the river flow is less than 40, the required minimum is 10. If the river flow is between 40 and 60, the minimum is 15. And if it's between 60 and 125, it's 18. And if it's over 125, something's wrong. That's not a legitimate river flow, and we have to report an invalid river flow. Okay, so what you need to do is work out using, well, I don't want to give away all the hints, but you need to work out either one of the two conditional statements. Okay, and remember, as you see, these numbers aren't numbers. They have to be worked out via a formula. Okay, that's the first example. The second one is even more involved, and it's quite a large example. And it's for a fictitious party planner who wants to run a catering business and then asks you, well, what do you want for music? What do you want for your hors d'oeuvres, your meat dishes, your desserts, your salads, and things like that? And I've got it nicely structured like a proper solution with an identification section, a description, a table of contents, initializations. This is a spot where you'll be able to type in the number of guests. Okay, this part in light gray is the actual section where you type in information. Okay, these other things are calculated, and the choices for hors d'oeuvres are 1 and 2. Okay, now what are the prices for these things? I've got a little chart down here, okay, that you can use to work out with your ifs or choose statements, whatever you're going to do to work these out. Okay, and then some of them have 2 or 3 choices, some of them only have 2. Okay, some of them are not like per person prices. Yeah, the last 2 in particular. The music, if you pick choice 1, it's just flat $300. If you pick choice 2, it's a flat $200. Okay. Also, at the very end, I want you to do one of those what ifs that we learned a little while ago. I have $4,000 to spend. Okay, so how many people can I invite? So I've decided what kind of side dishes, desserts, and things I want to pick. And I want to know how many people I can pick after. So that's kind of a neat one, and a little hint, you can use the goal seek tool. Okay, so 2 nice questions that give you a good overview of what we've been covering, and it'll really test your skills. So stop the video here now, and then when you come back, we'll do a quick recap of the solutions just in case you didn't get them. Welcome back, and let's take a look at each solution. This one actually is fairly challenging. What throws off a lot of the students is the way that I wrote down the conditions for this particular problem. And so let me try to go through the logic that you have to do when you do this type of question. So the first one's fairly straightforward. Okay, the river flow is less than 40. So yes, that makes sense. So if B13, which in this case is the first river flow, is less than 40, then what do? We assign it a river flow of 10. Now, if that's not true, how do you say this one? This is kind of a weird way to say something. It's between 40 and 60. Well, another way to say that is, if the first if statement isn't true, it's not less than 40, then it's automatically greater than or equal to 40. So that takes care of this bottom section of the constraint. And all you have to say is less than or equal to 60. Okay, so you notice how that converts into that basic if statement. Now, if that's true, that's a 15. So that's why we assign it a 15. Now, if that's not true, and it's already not true less than 40, it's going to be greater than 60. So now we're into this condition. So this is where, if this isn't true, we work out this condition. Now, greater than 60, but less than or equal to 125. So see how I do that? It's automatically assume that if this is false, it's already greater than 60. So I don't need to say that. So that's why I say the less than or equal to 125. And if that's true, the river flow assigned is an 18. And then there's only one thing left. If it's none of those, then it's an invalid. Okay, so it's kind of a weird thing. We got numbers there and words, and you can do that, all right? And it works out. So there again is now the solution. Very intricate, okay? Embedded if statements, embedded. So this gets pretty ugly. When we get into VBA programming, there's going to be a nicer way to do these kinds of more complicated if statements. But for now, with our knowledge, this is how you do them. Let's take a look at the second solution. I really like this party planner catering type spreadsheet. So basically 30 is a 30. That's just a number. Hopefully you didn't put a formula there. And these are just pure numbers. Now let's go through all the different combinations. So for hors d'oeuvres, you've got a choice of a 1 or a 2. And and there's a 3 for a bar snack. So it's $2, $3.50, or $4.75. So it's a choose command, right? So 2, $3.50, $4.75 times D20. D20 is the number of guests. Okay, then we go to soups and salads. And again, all you do is you look at the chart down here. We've got 1, $1.50, and 2. And then we'll just go through each one very quickly. This one's $7.50, 9, and 12. Okay, the side dishes, and I have to move down to see the side dishes, $1.25 or $2. The desserts, $2.25, 3 and $3.75. The alcohol, there's 2 choices. There's $7.50 and 10. Okay, and the last one, you don't really multiply by anything. So you know how we're multiplying by the number of people. It doesn't matter for the music. It's a flat rate, and it's either you picked the I guess the DJ or a band, okay? And depending on which one, it was either $300 or $500. And then you work out the total by adding all these up. Okay, so kind of a neat application, all right? And obviously, as you change these numbers, everything recalculates. That's the beauty of spreadsheets. And why don't we, just to finish up, fool around with this last little problem. If I had $4,000 to play with, how many people could I invite? And I just changed that to a 3, so I don't know what you picked there. But how many people could I invite for my party? So hopefully, remember, we're going to use the goal seeker, and it's in the data ribbon, and we're going to click on what if analysis and click on goal seek. And our set is right here. We're going to set that to a value of $4,000, and by changing this cell right here, and it ends up that I can invite 127 people roughly if I have this particular choice of catering for food and everything else. Okay, so that's kind of cool. All right, so there's 2 nice solutions. Gives you a nice little recap of some of the concepts we've covered. Next, now we go into what are called lookup tables and create even more complicated applications. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next lecture.